Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to today's show. Today we've got a wonderful selection of tanks to show you from the Second World War and one that even came afterwards. We're going to show you the wacky and weird things that was designed mainly by the Germans, but also some nice ones by the Russians. A different style tonight, but we hope you enjoy. And hold on. Crew, can we get some color, quality in here? This isn't 1944 after all. We do want it to look good for our guests. And my voice, can we please do something about it?
Okay. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. You didn't have to punch me, though. Alright, let's get this show on the road. As you saw on our title card, this is the Brummbär, the Sturmpanzer IV. This thing was wonderful for taking out either heavily fortified buildings or lightly armored vehicles with its 150mm gun. Primary shell was high explosive. It was typically used as a demolition vehicle or anti-infantry vehicle, but like I said, could be used wonderfully against anything lightly armored, like this M18 Hellcat we see here. The M18 Hellcat was a lightly armored reconnaissance vehicle used by the Americans during World War II and the Korean War. We see the Brummbär lining up its shot, firing right at the M18 Hellcat, driving right into the line of sight and exploding on impact with the shell. A beautiful shot by the Brummbär crew. You do not want to get in a fight with a Brummbär, especially at close range, because that 150 will tear you apart. What you are seeing here, folks, is what the Germans referred to as the Panzerjäger 6 Jagdtiger. It was a 75 metric ton beast mounted on the chassis of the Tiger II. A massive 128mm gun equipped into the superstructure of the vehicle itself. Armor so thick, no Allied weapon could penetrate the front armor of this thing. It was absolutely terrifying to face, especially because the gun on it could go through anything the Allies had at the time. You can see this Jagdtiger moving into position to ambush an unknowing Jumbo Sherman, as you can see here. It's moving forwards through the destroyed ruins of Berlin, trying to find something or someone to either capture or destroy.
That's quite big.
This behemoth is the 65 metric ton tank known as the Sturmpanzer 6 Sturmtiger. Equipped with a 380mm mortar, this vehicle fired shells wider than a foot in diameter. Its shells were equipped with over 100 kilograms of TNT equivalent mass stuffed inside the projectiles. It was mainly used for demolition, anything from buildings to bridges to enemy tanks.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
The Chonk Chart. A fine boy. He chonk. A heckin' chonker. Hefty chonk. Mega chonk. Oh Lord, he come!
If there is any vehicle to show Hitler's overcompensation for tanks and the sheer determination the Germans were to build terrifying behemoths of war, the Panzerkampfwagen 8 Maus is a perfect example of that. Weighing 414,000 pounds, which is around 207 tons, 188 metric tons, this behemoth crawled at a speed of 20 kilometers an hour when fully going forwards. It left tracks of about 3 to 4 feet wide behind it, crushing things below it if it wasn't already crushed enough like dirt. It could destroy anything the Allies had it been used in combat. Fortunately for everybody on the Allies' side, this behemoth was never used in combat. One prototype still resides in a museum to this day. Here we see some of the sheer firepower that the Maus held with on it. A 128mm main cannon and a 75mm coaxial cannon. The 75 had a much lower muzzle velocity but was great for infantry, while the 128 was great for anti-tank purposes. Here we have one of the examples of probably one of the silliest looking tanks the Russians ever built. This is the BMP-1. This specific one is in German service. It was a small, amphibious infantry support tank equipped with a 73mm gun that could fire anti-tank, pretty much grenades, out of its barrel, equipped also with an anti-tank guided missile atop the vehicle. It was small, nimble, lightly armored, and even amphibious, which means it could go in water. Here is the great example of the ATGM doing its work, guiding that missile straight into the ammunition rack of the American M47. This tiny little vehicle could easily get into new positions, as we see here, getting onto another side of this little river before another Allied tank could even come to support the one that just got destroyed, immediately ambushing the vehicle, showing off its incredible firepower and fire rate.
Well, we would be talking about the KV-2 right now, but I need to inform you that we ran into technical difficulties. Due to the nature of the War Thunder replay system, we got screwed over pretty bad a few times, and we got fed up with the replay system, so we just recorded it in actual matches, so we apologize for any decrease in quality. Thank you.
This is the Soviet heavy tank, the KV-2. This large, heavily armored vehicle had a 152mm howitzer stuffed in the refrigerator-like turret of this thing. It was built on the same chassis as the KV-1 and had almost impenetrable armor to early German guns. Most of these were built mainly for demolition purposes, which is what they were used for, but some did end up fighting tank-to-tank combat, especially on the Eastern Front against the Germans. This is the Soviet-made medium tank, the T-34, the most mass-produced tank of all time, with 85,000 being built by the time it was taken out of service in the USSR. This medium tank was equipped with a decent enough gun to get by anything it faced, great mobility, and decent enough armor to ricochet shells here and there. This specific model is the early 76mm version, which was, as the name suggests, equipped with a 76mm F-35 cannon. This vehicle had wonderful mobility and a great, well, not really great, but good enough gun to get by really anything it fought. Its great mobility allowing it to flank anything it came by, and if enough of these were around, they could defeat anything they came across. They could overwhelm an enemy vehicle or position in general easily, which is often what the Soviets would do. This is the Soviet-made Object 268. Such an early prototype, it didn't even get assigned an actual name. Equipped with a 152mm anti-tank gun, this thing was its great armor for its time, and deadly cannon would have made for an awful thing for any Allied vehicle at the time to come by. One of these were built and is now residing in a museum in Russia, but this thing still stands the test of time to show just how, well, crazy the Russians were when it came to building tanks.